Hey everyone, I'm Takayama, and I'm so happy to finally bring you my full damage guide for Fire Mage in World of Warcraft Dragonflight, patch 10.2. I'm going to begin with the one-shot rotation itself, and then I'll cover an essential add-on, macros, and sustained damage rotation outside of combustion. Keep in mind this is something that'll only be possible in 2v2s and duels, since the cast sequence is just too long to have consistent pressure for 3v3 arenas and rated battlegrounds. Regardless, I hope this helps you have fun one-shotting players in WoW PvP, and if this video helps you out in any way, then let me know by dropping a like below. So, the one-shot combo takes roughly 7 seconds to cast, and because of this it can be easily shut down if you don't have proper CC lined up. There is the argument to be made that this combo isn't actually fast at all, since it takes so long to set up, and you can technically land a kill within 3 to 4 seconds if you and your teammate burst at the same time. So therefore, you might want to run a more instant cast focus build with Ring of Fire instead of Greater Pyro and Hyperthermia instead of Meteor. However, if you take the time to cast this one-shot combo, you can actually kill that player 100-0 by yourself in under a second if timed properly. The first step is to put some distance between you and your target. Ideally, you want to be standing at max range. Start casting Greater Pyroblast, Badge Trinket, Combustion, Meteor, Fireball, Fireblast, Fireblast, Pyroblast, Pyroblast, Ice Nova, Fireblast, Pyroblast. These spells should bring any target from 100-0 in a single second if timed correctly. Just to explain the combo and why I choose to cast the spells in this order, I want to quickly explain the tech of all these spells. So, Greater Pyroblast is a 3.3 to 3.5 second cast with a 4-second travel time at max range. Meteor also takes about 4 seconds to land, depending on your haste, but it only takes 3 seconds to land from the time that you hear the audio cue of the meteor incoming to the time that it lands. Fireball has a travel time of about 2 seconds, and with the Flame Accelerant talent, we can bring the spell's cast time down to almost 1 second. Also, because the other 2 spells haven't landed yet, the target is considered to be 100% health, so we can take advantage of the Firestarter talent, which guarantees critical damage. Another thing to take into consideration is the internal cooldown of Fireblast, which is about a quarter of your 1 second global cooldown, or 0.25 seconds. This means that half the travel time of your Fireball, or exactly 1 second, is enough time to cast both Fireblasts for an instant cast Pyro, and throw that Pyro proc before the combo lands to ensure that you have room to gain another instant cast Pyroblast and finish the one-shot. The last 3 spells of the one-shot involve Ice Nova for a little extra instant damage. Your goal is to time the Ice Nova with your previous Pyro as it lands and press Fireblast at the same time, because Fireblast is off the GCD, and it can be cast at the same time as Ice Nova. This causes all 3 spells, Pyro, Ice Nova, and Fireblast, to all hit the target instantly with 100% critical strike damage. Personally, I use the audio cue from Meteor to get the timing as close as I can, but it always varies within milliseconds. Even if your target is somehow able to react fast enough with a defensive ability, you still have a ton more instant cast damage left from Phoenix Flames and fast cast Fireballs to land the kill. So the only bad part about running this build is that it causes you to use the Conflagration talent, which causes your Fireball to apply a dot that randomly deals AoE damage. I've gotten a lot of pushback from teammates to not run this talent, but even though the dot has a 15% chance to flare up, I would argue that your enemies are only stacked less than 1% of the time. Even if they happen to stack in a 2v2 arena, you always have Blast Wave available to separate them before doing the go. If you're having trouble with the speed of the combo, I want to give a quick disclaimer here and tell you about this free add-on, Advanced Interface Options, on CurseForge, and I'll leave a link to it in the description so you can install it for yourself if you haven't already. I will be covering more add-ons in a future video, but for now I just want to go over this one because it has a really big impact on gameplay. So this add-on essentially allows you to easily change your input lag or lag tolerance so that your keyboard inputs are sent to the server at the desired rate. It doesn't make the game faster for you or slower for others, it just makes your computer faster at communicating with the WoW server. By default, your lag tolerance is set to 400 milliseconds. This means that you can cast a spell, and during your global cooldown you can queue your next spell within 400 milliseconds of your next cast. So when you are 600 ms through your GCD, with 400 ms remaining, the spell you are pressing will be sent as a message to the WoW server. So if your GCD takes 1 second, then at 60% or 600 ms, the spell you're pressing will be the spell that you cast next. If you're pressing a spell during the GCD and then switch at the last second, the original spell you were spamming at 60% through your GCD will be cast instead, no matter what, and not the spell you tried to cast when your GCD was 99% completed. This concept is commonly referred to as the spell queue window, and a lot of PvP games have this embedded into their systems. Ideally, we want that spell window to be small enough to react to our latest input, but not too fast that the spell doesn't go off if your finger is mid-air over the button while spamming it. Therefore, it's best to set your lag tolerance to 100 ms plus your current ping. WoW displays two different pings in the game menu tooltip, one for home and one for world. Your home MS is your connection to your realm and chat channels, and your world MS governs all things combat, so we want to use the world MS value. For example, if my current ping for world was 20 ms, then I would open the add-on and change my lag tolerance to 120. This allows me to make the spell queue window exactly 1 millisecond. So if I spam an ability key over and over, there's never a gap and it's always the spell that I casted 1 millisecond ago instead of 4 milliseconds ago. However, if I have my lag tolerance set to 120 and then my MS jumps to a higher value, then our original value of 120 will not compute and thus default back to 400 ms. So Price is Right rules always keep this setting close to, but especially above your world MS to ensure that you're always benefiting from the add-on. This setting in conjunction with cast on keybind down makes the game feel so much more reactionary and punchy. I honestly wish these things were enabled by default, but for the time being, we just have to work around it. Now that we've covered the damage rotation, I want to quickly go over my macros for Mage PvP. Ice Block Macro. In Dragonflight, there's a new exclamation point command that allows you to spam the ability without canceling the buff. As a result, you're going to need a /CancelAura Ice Block Macro, and you can put this anywhere, but personally I put it under my Pyroblast key. StopCasting DB Macro. So StopCasting is a command that stops your current spell mid-cast and uses the ability immediately instead of waiting for the cast to finish. So this command is essential for defensives as well. StopCasting Alter Time Macro, StopCasting Greater Invis, and Badge+Combustion, just because it's easier to press one button for both CDs. Cursor Meteor. I use a lot of cursor macros because it's a lot faster, but it also makes it easier to misplace. So use these macros at your own discretion. With experience and practice, I highly recommend using these so you can be faster in Arena. Cursor Ring of Fire, Cursor Ring Frost, Mouseover Decurse, and finally my CancelAura Macro, which cancels all the buffs that I don't want to keep. All of these will be pasted in the description below, so feel free to copy them for yourself. Now I'm going to quickly go over trinket selection. I will be doing a full gear guide and stat priority video in the future, but for now I just want to talk about the damage trinkets, since it's relevant to the damage combo and how you can do things a little differently depending on your trinket choice. Most mages that I meet prefer Insignia and say that it procs almost immediately for them, but I've always had bad luck with Insignia in 2s. I think it's great for 3s when you're sustaining damage on multiple targets and you always have pyros going out, but in 2s, I think the damage windows are just much more precise and direct. Because of all this, I prefer to use Badge for 2s and this combo if I want to deal more instant cast damage on demand. So if you want the combo to hit even harder, I highly recommend using Badge Trinket. However, the thing to note here is that Badge cannot be used while casting a spell, so be sure to change when you press Combustion in relation to your Fireball cast in the one-shot combo. If you run Insignia, then your burst rotation will now require you to pause after Greater Pyroblast before Meteor to ensure that the spells land at the same time, so your rotation with Insignia will be as follows. Greater Pyroblast, wait 1 second, then cast Meteor, Fireball, Combustion, Fireblast, Fireblast, Pyroblast, Pyroblast, Ice Nova, Fireblast, Pyroblast. Now that we've fully covered every nook and cranny of the one-shot rotation, I just want to wrap up by explaining how Fire Mage damage works, so that hopefully everyone who watches this video will be able to dynamically deal max DPS no matter the scenario. The following information will actually be relevant for all forms of PvP, not just 2s and duels. So there's multiple talents at play here, but if you're running the proper build, then this is how you should sustain damage outside of your combust windows. A lot of this information is about hypothetical cause and effect or if-then scenarios, and we're going to disregard Flame Cannon and Flame Acceleration for the sake of this explanation, but you should obviously always cast your fast cast Fireball when it's available to keep up the pressure. If you gain a Pyro proc, do not cast it immediately to make room for more. It's actually better to Fireball here first, then combine that Fireball with your instant cast Pyro so that both land at the same time and have chances to crit, which leads to better sustain. So our main goal outside of Combustion is to maximize our Pyroblasts by combining them with Fireballs without overlapping Pyro procs or wasting heating ups. So if your target is above 90%, then cast Fireball. If you have a heating up, then cast Fireball and Fireblast to gain a Pyro proc, and then press Pyroblast during the cast to make sure that it goes with your Fireball. If you don't gain a heating up, then cast Fireball and do not Fireblast until you get a heating up. Well, what if you don't have Fire Blast? If you have no heating up, no Fire Blast, then Fireball and Phoenix Flames. This allows us to give our Fireballs a chance to crit with the Pyrotechnics talent, because if we Fireball and Phoenix Flames while we have a heating up, and that Fireball doesn't crit, but the Phoenix Flames does, that just lands us in a vicious cycle of heating up and never getting hot streak. But if you keep an eye on the Pyrotechnics talent, and know that your crit is stacking with each non-crit Fireball cast, then you can predict when your Fireball actually will crit, allowing you to Fireball, Phoenix Flames, get a hot streak, and combine it with a Fireball to continue the pattern. Now, obviously, this is only to maximize DPS if your target is standing completely still. If your target is line of sighting you, which is extremely common in PvP, then you're going to want to throw your instant cast spells like instant cast Pyroprocs, Fire Blasts, and Phoenix Flames to maximize DPS before they run away. Feel free to watch that back as many times as you need and ask questions in the comments below. I know I had to watch Preach Gaming's guide from Legion a lot of times before I finally got this down to muscle memory. At the time of writing this video, the damage breakdown has already gotten over 1,000 views, and I just want to sincerely thank you all for watching my videos. This channel is a dream come true already, and I hope to continue bringing you content for the foreseeable future. Be sure to subscribe and rate the video below, and don't forget to follow me on Twitch. I'm usually live every day playing WoW Arena, and I will be covering other topics like my threes playstyle, talents, races, stat priority, and UI in future videos. So be sure to comment below what guide you want to see next, and I'll see you later.